Just received a text from Charlie. 81 leadoff home runs for Ricky Henderson. We will talk more Ricky Henderson in the 8 o'clock hour. 81 leadoff home runs. Yes, he was my favorite player growing up. Yes, I'm such a nerd that I got Wendy to order his rookie card last night online. So, I lost all my baseball cards when I was a kid. So I was that kid. I mean, I had over 15,000 of them. It's what I did. I loved it. Fleer, Tops, Donruss. And, we could walk to the grocery store where I lived and at 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. And that's what we did. And I had dozens of Ricky Henderson cards, but he passed away over the weekend, Hall of Famer. We'll talk more about him a little bit later in the show. Let's talk some college football on the Out of Bounds show. ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Let's welcome in our friend, national college football analyst with ESPN, Tom Luganbill, on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. How cold was Happy Valley?
The temperature was about 22. The wind chill was about 10. And I had to get there. So I had a preview show for 2 hours on ACC Network prior to kick. Then I had to walk down and cover the SMU sidelines for the TV broadcast. And then we had to do a post-game show. So I was in it for about 7.5 hours. And I'm not going to lie, I got back to the hotel room and I just stood in the shower and just stood there. Like my fingers and my toes it was brutal, man. I'm not kidding. It was brutal. And so I get back yesterday after my radio show. I get back and I've got a bowl game on the 26th in Phoenix, the Rate Bowl between Rutgers and Kansas State. Okay. And then I land in Charlotte last night, and one of my bosses is like, "Hey, listen, we're going to add you to the Fiesta Bowl, and we're going to have you be the reporter on Penn State's sideline." And so now I get to go into some pretty nice weather where I will be thawed out, and I'm not having to pack anything of bulk. That's for sure.
Dude, you get to go from, I've only been to Happy Valley once, but you get to go to Happy Valley to Tempe, Scottsdale, which I've been out there. That's amazing. That's a pretty good deal weather-wise this time of year.
Yeah, then I go down to Orlando for the Under Armour game, and then I finally get to come home.
Oh, wow. You're a road warrior. Okay. Who's the K-State?
I'm road warring it, yeah.
Who's the K-State quarterback?
Oh, Avery Johnson.
God, my son, Luganbill.
Problem.
Wilkes loves Avery Johnson. Loves him. That's all he talks about the last 3 months.
I'm telling you, dude, he is a stud. Like, he's one of those guys. I said to our crew, we were having a call the other day about the game, and I said to our crew, I said, if this guy was playing on a college football playoff type of roster, type of team, he could take a team to a national championship. Mm-hmm. He's that good.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
He's really good.
All right. I want to get into I think the surprise of the weekend was Ohio State dominating Tennessee, coming off of playing so poorly against Michigan. And that's just the way it is with all these teams, I feel like, college and NFL. You get a different team every week. Sometimes they play really well. Sometimes they no-show. You don't ever know. But what was your takeaway? I thought Chip Kelly just absolutely worked a Tennessee defense that was really damn good all year, Luke.
Well, he made the defensive front look pedestrian. James Pierce was invisible. It was like he wasn't even there. They couldn't create any pressure. They couldn't create any negative plays. And then on top of all of it, the one game that you needed your quarterback to play out of his mind, he did. And Will Howard played in a manner at Ohio State that he hadn't played all year long. And, you mentioned something that I think is really important is that, all of these teams this year, maybe this year more than recent memory, all of these teams have warts. They all have deficiencies. Like, we've seen Georgia look really good. We've seen Georgia look very pedestrian. We've seen Texas look really good. We've seen Texas look very pedestrian. Same thing with Ohio State, right? And then, you have an Oregon team sitting over there that has not one time looked pedestrian. They've played at a very high level, high standard, consistently throughout the year. But I really feel this played a big role because it happened everywhere. Playing at home sites in those types of conditions, which 3 of the 4 games were in sub-freezing conditions, matters. It matters. I mean, and you could see it, you could feel it, you could feel the energy, you could see that the road team was at a disadvantage. And I thought I loved it. I loved the home games for the first round, but I thought it made an impact. And Tennessee got beat. I think the thing too in all of this, and it really didn't happen in the Penn State SMU game because Drew Aller was very average in that game and he didn't need to do anything great. But like Riley Leonard played one of his best games. Will Howard clearly played his best game. Quinn Ewers finally got back on track, and Arch Manning came in and made some plays. But the moral of the story is you're not getting through this gauntlet without great quarterback play.
Right.
You're just not. If you have a bad day under center, this is like the NFL playoffs, man. And you're gonna lose, and that's just and Nico Iamaleava is a good player, but he's a young player, but he didn't play well enough to give them a chance to win.
No, he didn't, and I still don't know what to do with Ohio State even after that game. I mean, yeah, they played well, but now they play.
Well, if you told me, how about this, Bo? If you told me that was the version we're going to see the rest of the way through, they're winning the national championship.
Fair enough.
But you can't trust it,
no.
Right? Like if you like, what if we see Gunnar Stockton play the way he did in the SEC championship game, and Georgia all of a sudden can run the ball? Who's going to beat Georgia?
Right.
But we don't know what version we're going to see. That's what's been so frustrating about the entire college football season, but it makes for a lot of intrigue in the playoff format.
I agree. And I people were complaining about the games being blowouts, but here's the deal. There are going to be years where we're going to catch first round games where 2 of 4, 3 or 4 are going to be awesome and they'll go down the wire. It's not going to happen every year. I think you hit the nail on the head. Watching playoff games on team's campus was awesome, and that's what we want. And really so I thought it was a cool, and your atmosphere had to be cool Saturday at Happy Valley.
To have a whiteout during the day, which generally doesn't happen. Normally when they have a whiteout game, it's a night game. I mean, that's a bucket list item. I mean, how fantastic was that? There wasn't an empty seat in the house, and it's freezing cold. And it was just, the atmosphere was fantastic. Just imagine this. I was talking to somebody yesterday. Imagine if we had home sites for the quarterfinals. How about Penn State going to Boise State?
Yeah, I'd rather home sites again.
What would happen to the city of Boise? Can you imagine that? What an atmosphere that would be.
Oh, that'd be wild. I'm with you. I wish the first 2 rounds were on campus and then go into all the major, metropolitan areas. But okay, I want to rapid fire through this. I want you to describe the talent, compare the talent between the 2 teams on all 4 games. Let's roll through this. Just give me whether it's 10 seconds or 30 seconds. All right, Tennessee, Arizona State. Texas, Arizona State. My bad.
Arizona State?
Yeah.
On talent profile?
Yes.
Oh, it's Texas times 3 because Arizona State's got some really good frontline players. The quarterback's going to be a dude. Scatabo is John Riggins. And they've got some nice starters. They have nowhere near the 2s and 3s. That's going to be the problem for Texas, is the ability to roll through without a drop-off in production that Texas is going to have that is going to create distinct advantages. I also think the other component to that game is Arizona State was so hot and playing so well that they were one of those teams that you probably wished didn't get a bye. Like if you asked Kenny Dillingham, could we just play this coming week because we could just roll this into the next week? He probably would have said, heck yes, let's do it, right? And it's hard to carry over that momentum when you don't play, when you sit. And so I listen, that team is a great Cinderella story, and I think they're scary, and I think they are a problem, but they got the bad draw in the quarterfinal.
Ohio State, Oregon. Is this the closest, and is this a push?
I think it's a push. Again, you're going to have stellar quarterback play from Oregon. Do we get the same level of quarterback play from Will Howard that we saw on Saturday? If you do, the sucker's a one-possession deal going in late into the fourth quarter. I think it will turn into one of those games where it won't be the plays that you make, it will be the mistakes you avoid. Because both teams are going to be so good and so productive that an error here and an error there could be the difference in the game.
Penn State, Boise State, game that you will cover. Does Boise State have a shot?
Yeah, I think they have a shot. The thing that's interesting about them is all we hear about is Boise State and Ashton Genty, right? Well, when it gets into a game like this, Madsen Maddox is going to have to play lights out. And most people are going to go, who in the heck is that? That's Boise State's quarterback. Nobody even knows who he is. Well, against a team like Penn State and that defense and what they're capable of doing defensively with that front, I mean, if I'm Tom Allen, the defensive coordinator at Penn State, I'm not so sure I don't line up 8 or 9 in the box and just say, all right, Boise State quarterback, you haven't had to beat anybody all year long, but you're going to have to beat us.
Yeah.
And we're not letting Ashton Genty do it. And take some chances, see what happens. I think Boise State's got a fighter's chance because they've been there before. They know exactly who they are, and they're not going. The moment won't be too big for them, but the bigger, faster, stronger component is going to come into play with Penn State.
Tom Luganbill on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau insurance agent. You're listening to ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Luganbill walking us through the quarterfinal second round of the college football playoffs that will be played on the 31st and 1st. All right, Notre Dame and Georgia. Describe how much more. Well, Freeman's closed the gap, I think, a little bit because he's done a hell of a job there. Yeah. But as far as athleticism and speed, describe the gap, Georgia, Notre Dame.
Nowhere near as significant as it was when we've seen it versus Clemson and we saw it versus Alabama in the past. I'm serious when I say I think Notre Dame could win the national championship. They have two things that travel. Well, three. They can run the football, they stop the run, and they don't beat themselves. And they are one of those teams that is good enough at quarterback to beat you. And you saw Riley Leonard on Friday night make some plays, made a lot of plays with his feet, made a lot of off-schedule plays, does exactly what the offense requires of him. But that team will line up and run the ball right down your throat. And right now, Georgia is in the midst of their lowest per yards per game on the ground production in 20 years. They haven't been able to run the football as effectively as they have before. And I think that's a bit concerning in a contest like this. Plus, when you've got a young quarterback that came off the bench, made a bunch of plays, played great, you beat Texas, and now it's different because now you're not coming off the bench. Now there's 2 weeks of preparing to be the guy, and now you're going to have to be the guy on the biggest stage in the biggest moment. Does Notre Dame challenge him and come after him, test him, change the picture after the snap? Pressure him, get in his face, see what he does. Can he react to things? Does he see it coming? You got to test how far along he is, and that's going to give you a gauge of how to defend Georgia. Because if he shows that maybe he's struggling to see where it's coming from, or he's struggling to see the field post snap, then you're going to really start to come after him because he's a young, inexperienced quarterback.
I'm excited about this game, Notre Dame, Georgia. You know, Freeman's. It's a little bit of a dilemma for me. It was easy for me to hate Notre Dame my whole life because of Lou Holtz, Bob Davie, Charlie Weiss, Brian Kelly, and I really like Marcus Freeman. And Riley Leonard to me is a great story, and you see more than we do, but man, in the line of scrimmage, Notre Dame looks like they have absolute dudes. Is that what you see?
They do. Absolutely. They do. I mean, that he's built that thing from the inside out, and he knows exactly who they are and what they want to be, and it can't be done without having those types of guys. And the other thing that's interesting with them too is, you know, you don't see a mass exodus of players into the portal, right? You got a bunch of guys that are there and want to be there and they want to stay there. I mean, what does that say about that team? You know, that's pretty impressive.
All right, so best quarterback left is Dylan Gabriel? Or would you say, well, Bo, I'd say someone else will give him a run for his money? Or if it is clear-cut Dylan, who's the second best quarterback left in the college football playoffs?
Well, it's Dylan right now just because of consistency of his performance week in, week out, quarter in, quarter out, half in, half out. It's been too good. It's been too steady. And that's what you have to have in this tournament. I'd say if Quinn Ewers is on, I would probably say Quinn, but he's been so up and down. I know he's battled a lower leg and ankle injury. I thought he moved pretty well the other night. But, we saw him play pretty good the other night. We didn't see him play very good against Georgia, and it's been a bit of an up and down season for him. But I would probably say Quinn at that point. But I don't know, man. Riley Leonard's playing at a really high level.
He is.
It doesn't hurt the football team. And, I had him twice at Duke 2 years ago. And he's really good, man. I don't think he gets the credit he's due. I mean, obviously Notre Dame targeted him and probably felt the same way, and now it's come to fruition. But I think all the quarterback play it depends on which guy shows up, like which Will Howard shows up. I thought Drew Aller the other day at Penn State was very pedestrian. He was streaky. He wasn't overly accurate. They didn't score an offensive point until 5 minutes to go in the second quarter. It was SMU screwing it up on offense. It wasn't Penn State going up and down the field. And so I think he's going to have to get a lot better than he played for them to continue to advance. But they probably have, outside of Texas, Penn State probably has the best draw in the quarterfinal. That's
fair enough. Tom Luganbill with ESPN on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. All right, I want to switch gears with you, Luke's. Jeff Lebby landed Luke Kromenhawk from Florida State. You know all about him.
Yeah.
Would you share with our listeners, give us kind of his scouting report and what you think about him as a young quarterback?
Yeah, I thought he was thrown into an impossible position this past fall and handled it with poise and grace and composure. And it wasn't easy. And I think when you show those types of traits, when you're under duress and there's a cloud of negativity that's continually looming all around you, it shows what type of makeup the kid has. He reminds me of when Curtis Rourke was at Ohio as a young quarterback. He was a starter as a sophomore, really good player, and they were starting to develop as a program, and then obviously became a 10-win program under his leadership. He's got that type of skill set, pretty decent athlete. But there's also a loss there too, man. Like, to me, losing Michael Van Buren's a big loss.
Yeah.
A big loss. Because I think he's got a chance to be really, really good. So you got to go out on the market and figure out a way to try to compensate for that. I think it's a nice pickup.
Okay. Dan Mullen to UNLV. Now, I think this is another job that in this new era of football is not going to be the job that you and I grew up on. I think Fertitta has pumped in a ton of money over there. As you know, they have a brand new $35+ million football facility. They get to play their home games in an NFL stadium where the Raiders play. And evidently they've got a couple other extremely very wealthy boosters that are ready to win. So it's not when you and I were growing up and Randall Cunningham was there and then they didn't, whatever.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see this, the SMUs, the UNLBs, there's going to be some others that if they really want to get after it, possibly even Duke and Vandy and so on, that can win a little bit in this new pay-for-play era. What are your thoughts on Dan Mullen to UNLV?
So I agree with you in this shifting landscape that the group of five schools, if they choose to invest, that they've got a chance to elevate their program, but they all are still going to face the same challenge, and it's the same for all of them. And that is when you go out and you identify and you bring in a good player that other people weren't recruiting, and you develop that guy, he's gone. Like, if he becomes a great player, you're going to lose him. Unless you somehow have the funds, which you're probably not going to be able to compete with a Power 4 school in that regard, it's going to be difficult to retain your top players every year because you're going to get pillaged. And so I think those are challenges that are inherent everywhere. Whether it's, look at Marshall. Marshall can't even play in their bowl game, right? They don't even have enough guys. They win the Sun Belt, get a bunch of good players, boom, they're gone. Right? And so that's going to be a challenge for every group of five coach. To be honest with you, that program's in greater shape than it has ever been in. And I can see why it was intriguing to to Coach Mullen, I just couldn't believe he did it. I don't know why anybody in today's day and age who has generational wealth and doesn't need to work would go anywhere near college football right now.
Right.
It's just everything's a nightmare. Everything's a problem. Everything it's not football anymore. You're not coaching. I talk to coaches all the time. How much time are you spending on football? You know the answer is 30%. And the rest of it is a bunch of junk. And it's a bunch of nonsense. And just like James Franklin said last week with Bo Pribula as backup quarterback, and he's like, we got major problems in college football. Yeah, major problems in college football. And if you're not at a place like a Penn State or an Alabama or an LSU or, a Georgia, what have you, you got even bigger problems because it becomes more difficult when you don't have resources.
All right, we'll leave it there. We'll leave it. I had a couple other things, but we've only got a couple of minutes, and we're going to be out of here for a while, and you're going to be running around. So in a few weeks, we'll get back together and go through some other topics. But you've got, Merry Christmas to you and your family,
You too,
and Happy
buddy.
New Year. And thank you I thought we had a hell of a 2024, and we love having you on and look forward to 2025. I know you're going to be bouncing around, but I hope you get some family time too. But also, congratulations on getting 2 college football playoff games and the bowl games, and continuing to do the Under Armour All-American stuff. So that's awesome too.
I appreciate it, man. It's I was starting to think I was in Happy Valley, and I took some time to step away, and I was like, dude, we're part of history today. The first ever 12-team college football playoff on a campus at a place like Penn State. And I really kind of just sat back and was like, wow, well, what a really cool deal this is going to be. And then now I get to do it again. So maybe I didn't screw it up on Saturday.
No, you didn't. And it is a cool moment. And I'm glad you did do that, because that's pretty freaking awesome. Well, look, enjoy the holidays. Enjoy the good work and the road trips. We'll talk soon, okay?
All right. Thanks, buddy. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Tom Luganbill. And it was a heck of a 2024 with Luke's. From last January all the way through that hit right there. Whether he was doing deep dives into Ole Miss and Mississippi State and Lane Kiffin and Jeff Lebby and Dart and Chapin and so on, and everything, all the other topics that we hit. Good morning, welcome in. This will be our last show for a week or so, and then we'll be back and ready to kick some tail. It's been a heck of a ride since Dallas, Texas, and SEC Media Days. My goodness. We are the Out of Bounds Show. We're brought to you by the Armory, Lake Harbor in Ridgeland. For all your firearms, optics, and suppressors, go to the Armory, Lake Harbor in Ridgeland, right in front of Kroger. This is ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Merry Christmas from myself and Straight Funk. Back in a second.
Stand by for audio. Got it.
It's 8 a.m., and you're tuned to Mississippi's #1 choice for non-stop sports. The Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds.
Where am I?
On the Zone 105.9 and online at thezone1059.com.
Good morning. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Enjoy a Tito's White Russian in honor of Jackson Meadows. We are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We're brought to you by Kessler Prime in the Renaissance, KesslerPrime.com to make a reservation. The people who remembered and recognized Ricky Henderson, Hall of Famer, the greatest leadoff hitter of all time. First ballot election into the Hall of Fame. He stole almost 500 more bases than anyone else. 297 homers. He reached base more than 5,000 times. Can I say that again? He reached base more than 5,000 times. 5,000 times. 3,055 hits. 2,190 walks. And as Buster Olney said, legendary baseball writer, analyst, the surprise was that 28 of the 539 Hall of Fame voters didn't include him on their ballots. Unbelievable. If you've listened to the show, you know he was kind of mythical to me as a kid. So let me kind of walk you through. The fact that he stole bases was, I don't know why. I mean, kids get into different things, right? Home runs were cool, but I gravitated to Ricky Henderson before he became a power hitter. It was the stolen bases that were fascinating to me. It was back at a time where I didn't get to watch him play much. I got the NL like you. We were lucky in 1981 that we got TBS and WGN. So I was locked into the Cubs and Braves and everybody that they played, the Cardinals, the Phillies, the Mets, the Padres, Tony Gwynn. I talk about him all the time. He's one of my top 10 favorite players. Obviously, Murphy, Raffy, and Will. You got some of Will. Raffy went to the AL, so you didn't get him until later. But Ricky Henderson, you would get him on big national games of the week or the postseason. If you want to check out what he did in the postseason in 1989, which is the only time that I ever rooted against Ricky Henderson, and I had to because Will Clark and Jeff Brantley were on that San Francisco Giants team. And it was a tough deal for me because that's how much I loved Ricky Henderson. And, he was dynamite. He was electric. He had the personality. He talked in third person. 10-time All-Star. 1,406 stolen bases. Let's say that again. 1,406 stolen bases. He's top 10 position player of all time. Now, I understand that there's two totally separate things, when you're ranking pitchers and the impact that they have on a game.
Sure.
And obviously position players. But he's a top 10 position player in the game because he has to be. If you're the greatest leadoff hitter, you have to be, and maybe you can make a strong argument he's a top 5 position player in the game, because if you're the number one, the best by a long, long, long way leadoff hitter, then don't you at least have to be in the conversation? Yeah. How important are, ask Chris Lemonis and Mike Bianco. Right. Over the years when we've had Mississippi State and Ole Miss teams that were rolling, what does a leadoff hitter do for you? That gets on base. You don't care, like Billy Beane said 26 years ago, I don't care how you get on base, just get to first.
That's right.
Of course, we've become even crazy pills over homers. It's either homer or strikeout. Right. And so, yeah.
I'm definitely comfortable overall top 25. I'm confident in top overall. That's with pitchers. Without pitchers,
I'm comfortable with that. If you want to take, you take more pitchers than position players because of, I think, the
way they
impact on the game. But so let's say if you took the top 25 and 15 were pitchers and 10 were position players, I'm in.
Yeah. It's not a bad mix.
No.
You take the pitchers out of it, he's probably top 15. He might be right at 15, but he's right there.
Well,
you're talking about some studs. But to be even mentioned in the top, honestly, 100, you could roll through the first top 100 baseball players, and you're going to have a case for why that person is one of the greatest players of all time very easily.
Let me give you another number. Ricky Henderson joined the Boston Red Sox in 2002.
Oh,
He had stolen 1,395 bases during his career, which began in the middle of the season in 1979.
Right.
So I started understanding who Ricky Henderson was in 1980 at 7 years old in Bellhaven when I had to go down to Jitney Jungle to buy baseball cards. And I became obsessed with him. Obsessed. So when he joined the Red Sox in 2002, he had stolen 1,395 bases. During that same 23-year time frame, the Boston Red Sox, as a franchise, had only stolen 1,382 bases. He's top 10 position player of all time.
What? And those numbers are just, those are absurd. His numbers and his records are some of the more eye-popping ones because they stand out.
Well, and with him headfirst sliding all the time, the fact that he was able to play as long as he did, and not like when I was watching it yesterday morning, I just watched videos of him sliding into second and sliding into third. It is remarkable, the physical toll that I know it's took on his body, and yet Ricky played all the time.
And loved it.
Yeah, he was one of those guys that, and I don't remember how many they were playing when he started, but when they went to 162, Ricky would have been fine with you playing 195.
Right. Keep it going.
He was just, and he couldn't let it go, which is fine. And he hit his last Major League Baseball homer at 44, right, with the Dodgers.
He couldn't let it go, but there was a reason too, because he kept coming back. He wouldn't comeback player of the year in the 2000s.
How about that?
2002, he won comeback player of the year.
Well, when he hit this, and by the way, I don't remember this, but when he hit this homer at 44 years old with the Los Angeles Dodgers, he's still an 44 years old. It looks like a 24-year-old body.
Dude, shredded.
And he just sit-ups, push-ups, and ran all the time.
Wonder what his 40 time would have been.
I don't know. That's a good question. Ricky Henderson, R.I.P., first ballot Hall of Famer, obviously the greatest leadoff hitter of all time. And his numbers, they're just insane.
God.
Mac Hike Auto Group text line 601-885-3776. Twitter X at Bo Bounds. And the Stella Artois caller line 601-707-3750. Good morning. Welcome in on Christmas week. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to you and your family. Ricky Henderson, 10-time All-Star, 1,406 stolen bases, 2-time World Series champ, 3,055 hits, 2,295 runs. 21 seasons with 30-plus stolen bases. No other player in Major League Baseball history has had 21 seasons with even 10 bases stolen. 81 leadoff homers. Greatest leadoff hitter of all time.
That is a. I don't know what the number 2 is. I'll look it up here in just a second. But I gotta imagine there's a significant gap in there, right? Between him and number 2 on the leadoff home.
Well, now I don't know. You'll have to look up who. I mean, we've had some great leadoff hitters over the last 100 years. But what he did as far as stolen bases, hits, walks, and then home runs is damn remarkable.
It's him, and then number 2 is George Springer, who actually is still playing ball. He's got 60. Which is actually impressive. Alfonso Soriano at 54 at number 3. So, I mean, he's got 20 more. It takes a while to get 20, I'd assume. All right, 20 leadoff home runs is going to take you a while.
Yeah.
I mean, people jumping off the bat like that. It's impressive. I don't know.
How many times did you tell me you played for the A's? 4?
4 times.
Grew up in that area. And, wow.
He was so cool.
Yeah.
He was cool.
He was cool. You could tell yesterday from all the tributes to him from players, like how much they loved Ricky Henderson being a teammate. I mean, did he talk in third person all the time? Yeah. Was it funny as hell? Yeah.
You can do that when you're a top 20 player of all time.
That's exactly right. When you're a Hall of Famer.
Do what you want.
Bona fide, surefire, first ballot, no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about the 28 people who didn't vote for him.
Yeah.
Those are the people on your HOA.
That's it.
I mean, it's that simple.
Idiot.
They didn't vote for Ricky Henderson. I just went through I didn't even go through everything he's done because then it would take the rest of the show.
Right.
It's unbelievable. I loved him. But see, he was, you have to understand, I mean, now you can watch every game. We didn't get, because he was in the AL, we didn't get near as much of Ricky Henderson. We got to watch, and blessed to be able to in the early, Roy Oswalt sat right here beside me in this studio, Houston Astros Hall of Fame, and said he never watched a Major League Baseball game growing up. Grew up in Ware, Mississippi. Didn't have,
Wow.
He said, I had no access.
Wow.
He said that helped him. He said because when he made it to the major leagues, he didn't know who these guys were.
Good point.
He just got up there, grabbed the baseball, and punched people out. He said that on this show. But as a kid in Bellhaven, and I don't know when it was, 80, 81-ish, to get WGN and TBS was unbelievable. And get to see Murph and Bob Horner and Sutcliffe and Lee Smith and then everybody that they played, including Tony Gwynn. And, by the time all those guys had gone through the Mets, we got to see them play the Braves and the Cubs a ton of times, right? Doc and Dykstra and Roger McDowell and the list goes on and on. But Ricky was mythical. Yeah. He was this guy that you would get up and get the paper in the morning and read where he would have 3 stolen bases.
Right. You remember box scores, right?
I read them religiously.
Same.
Starting at 6:15 or 6:30 in the morning.
I loved them. That's all I ever did. And how you get to the name and it have in parentheses how many, home runs one would hit, blah, blah, blah. And every single time, 2 or 3. Now, what is this man doing stealing 2 or 3 bases all the time? If he was in fantasy baseball today.
Oh, my.
Talking about a
goodness.
Probably number 1 pick in everywhere. Because, like I said, I know there were more, there's been other 5-tool players prior to him, but That dude is the definition of a 5-tool player.
Just a unbelievable player. And 2-time World Series champ. I only went against him one time, and he beat me. And that was the 1989 earthquake playoffs between the two Bay Area, and I struggled between the two Bay Area teams of the A's and the Giants. But I couldn't go against Will the Thrill and Jeff Brantley. I couldn't do it.
No, I mean, that makes sense.
I mean, I'd already been with them in 83, 84, and 85.
That's right.
Couldn't go against them. I struggled with, I knew kind of what was going on, and Ricky was unbelievable in that series. Unbelievable. Will you get me his final stats? I read them yesterday. And
the World Series or period?
No. I'd like the 1989 World Series stat line for my man Ricky Henderson. He was a great team. People knew he came to the ballpark to play.
Right.
This is a day and age when MLB and NBA players want to take off 20 games a year because they have a hangnail. I remember a couple of years ago, somebody slept the wrong way on the pillow at the hotel room.
That's right.
MLB.
That's correct.
And so he decided not to play. Unless you lose your leg, we expect our NFL players to play. But we just kind of pass it off in MLB and NBA. That's what I thought was interesting. All the former players, his teammates, talking about, I mean, Ricky showed up to the ballpark ready to play and beat your you-know-what. Okay? Seriously. He was there to take you out, starting with the first pitch of the game. And think about if you were a pitcher during that time. You're like, God, I got to face Ricky first batter.
Right.
I got to be locked in, ready to roll, because he's going to get on first, and then he's going to be on third. Think about how much better Ricky made the second, third, and fourth hitter in the lineup, depending on the year. Look. I mean, I can hit a sac fly X amount of times this year because Ricky's going to be on third. Boy, that's going to look good in my, for my stats.
I mean, you get RBIs all the time.
Right.
They're just handed to you.
Yeah, you're like, oh, wow, well, Ricky's on third again. If I'll just lift it, I know it's easier said than done, but if I just lift this to right field, center field, or left field, run, Ribby, thank you, Ricky. And he would tell people he was going. Right? I mean, everybody, this was not a secret. The catcher knew, the pitcher knew, the manager knew on the other opposing team.
Yeah, do something about it.
First baseman knew. I'm getting on first, and I'm leaving soon. And think about what a problem that was for the pitcher. So what does he do? He focuses too much on Ricky, then he makes a bad pitch to the batter,
Go to the backstop.
Hitting second, third, or fourth. And then all of a sudden, I just hit it. I just gave up a double to the gap, and Ricky scores from first, running backwards.
Yeah.
I mean, all these things came into play, the things that, don't show up in the stat line for my man, Ricky Henderson.
Batted .475 during that World Series. 3 stolen bases. He did get caught stealing once.
Oh, wow.
It's a rare feat.
So he hit .475
Yep.
in the World Series? Yep. Is that good?
I guess so.
Okay. Good grief. It's Major League Baseball. This isn't when we were in Little League and you could hit 680. We are the Out of Bounds Show. We're driven by your next Ford F-150 at Mack Hike Ford, I-55 North in Jackson. All right, we'll have Jay Powell coming up in about 5 minutes. Played for Mississippi State. And, well, he won a World Series in 97. We've mentioned that many times on the show with the Marlins. He was on the mound. But he played for the Marlins, Astros, Rockies, and Rangers. So he played against Ricky Henderson. Jay Powell, former Mississippi State pitcher, and played in MLB for several years, will join us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. So, boom. Let's see. He was a first-round pick out of Mississippi State, 19th pick overall. Okay.
I didn't know he was a first-rounder.
Yes.
Well, dang.
How about that? First round, 19th pick, 93. And
good dude.
Yes.
He's
been on the show several times, and we'll talk a little Ricky Henderson. A little bit different this time of year with football, but when somebody like Ricky Henderson passes away, who I've been referencing since my first week on Sports Talk Radio here in 2003, then we have to talk about it. So Jay Powell played for the Marlins, Astros, Rockies, Rangers, and Braves, and played at Mississippi State out of the Meridian area, and was signed when Ron Polk was at MSU.
He currently down at JA
Prep.
Was
it JA?
Was it there? I ran into him sporadically down there.
Prep's got like 3 former MLB players on their staff. It's crazy. Maloney, Powell, and I may be missing one other one.
That Maloney.
And Maloney, managed for years.
Cowboy Maloney.
Well, that would be his dad. Yes.
That is the same Maloney?
Yeah.
No way.
Oh,
well, I had no idea.
It was the Maloney who was starting at first base for Mississippi State, and he got hurt, and Will Clark took his place. He never got it back.
Understandable.
And then he went on to coach in minor league and Major League Baseball for years. In fact, just a few years ago, he was the Braves here manager, because when I threw out the first pitch, I sat there and talked to him in the steps of the dugout.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I should have, that kind of, it obviously just boom, boom, boom lines up now that I think about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And first off, he should have gone by Cowboy.
But Jeff Brantley does now.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, so hey.
Cowboy Red.
Cowboy Red.
Yeah, go ahead. We'll get Jay. Hopefully he'll be ready. I just hit him with the text a few minutes ago. I don't know why I didn't do that yesterday, but I do have somebody shared Dave Stewart's number with me, which I thought was pretty nice. And so we'll see how this thing goes in the next, couple of. I got Dennis Eckersley's number and Dave Parker and Dave Stewart. So we'll see if we can do something after the show with one of those guys. He told me to go with Dave Stewart first. We are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. First ballot Hall of Famer, best leadoff hitter. So the greatest leadoff hitter of all time. He was my favorite player growing up. If you've listened to this show, you know how much I've referenced Ricky Henderson. And that was back like the early 80s. You didn't get to watch the Oakland A's on TV. He was a god, but he was a myth, because you'd get a national game every now and then, or they'd be in the postseason. And so starting in 1980, he was my favorite player because he was a speedster and stole bases. He eventually added power. And in 1989, I've told this story, and 89's the only time I went against Ricky Henderson, and I had to, because Will Clark and Jeff Brantley were on the San Francisco Giants, and it was the Bay Area Earthquake World Series, and I struggled with it going into it, but I had to go with Clark and Brantley over Ricky, but it was very difficult. Ricky had an unbelievable series, by the way, and the A's won it. And that was Canseco and McGuire and Dave Stewart and all that. We want to welcome in Jay Powell, first-round pick out of Mississippi State, a decade in MLB. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. When was the first time that you can remember you played against or faced Ricky Henderson, Jay Powell?
Well, it's good to be here, Bo. I'm going to probably say it was 1996. It was my rookie year. And I'm trying to remember who Ricky was with then. I can't remember if he was still in the American League or the National League. But I faced him in 96, and then I think I faced him since I looked it up the other day. I faced him about 4 times in my career, which was kind of odd because, I usually get a lot of the right-handed hitters. So I really thought I'd faced him more than that. But I faced him in 96, 97, and then I think a couple times in 2001 when he was with the Padres at that point.
Okay, you're right. He was with the Padres in 96, 97, and then he was back with them in 2001.
Yep.
So the greatest leadoff hitter of all time could do so many different things. What was it like to face him knowing how talented he was?
There's certain hitters that gave me problems that really wasn't as good, as talented as Ricky Henderson. For some reason, I had pretty good success against him, and I never minded facing him. The thing about a guy like Ricky Henderson, though, is, with these, quote, leadoff guys, hey, just, make them hit their way on, that kind of stuff. You couldn't do that with Ricky Henderson because he could get out of the park. So you just couldn't just go in there and groove him a fastball thinking I'm going to get ahead and I just can't walk him. Ricky was a really good hitter, obviously, and just a freak show of an athlete. But he just, beyond all that, he brought so much to the game of baseball, just on the field, off the field. The stories, of course, are legendary. But as far as the talent-wise, he was by far the best leadoff hitter to ever play the game.
Yet so you played against great players, you were a phenomenal player. When y'all make it to MLB, good grief, everybody's good. So
that's right.
But when you look back and hear about some of the, things that he accomplished, Jay, like 1,406 stolen bases, 3,055 hits, 2,295 runs. As somebody who played at the highest level and won a World Series, do you just sit back and shake your head?
There's 2 records, I think, that will never be broken in baseball. Cal Ripken's consecutive game streak will never be broken, and Ricky Henderson's stolen base record will never be broken. Those 2 records, I feel like, are untouched. Well, now you get into Cy Young and some of those, crazy 600 wins and all that. But, when you look at modern day, quote, baseball, that's incredible. It's absolutely incredible to steal that many bases. I saw a stat on him the other day that when he was with the Yankees, Don Mattingly drove him in 78 times in 1 year. That's obviously Mattingly had a great year, but for a guy to get on base and be driven in by one person 78 times, that tells you how many runs he was scoring.
It's incredible.
It's some of these things that he did was crazy. But yeah, that's why he's the greatest leadoff hitter of all time, and it's very deserving.
First round pick out of Mississippi State, World Series champ Jay Powell on the Out of Bounds show, talking Ricky Henderson, my favorite player of all time, even over Raffy and Will, which is saying something. Okay, so walk us through how much pressure a guy like that puts on a pitcher once he gets on first base, knowing what he can do, Jay?
Well, I tell people all the time, I was extremely blessed that I had about 4 Gold Glove catchers over the course of my career. So that helps a lot. But you've got to understand that he's wanting to steal that base. He's wanting to steal the base. So it affects pitch selection. It affects, you got to be quick to the plate. You've got to hold the ball. You've got to do things that will disrupt his timing and that kind of stuff. And even if you do all that perfectly, he's still going to probably steal the base. So you just, going into it as a pitcher, it definitely affects you as a pitcher as far as what you're doing and trying to get that hitter out, because you can't get preoccupied with him at first base. But with him over there, you knew it was kind of a matter of time, not necessarily when, because he had the green light all the time. And as good of, you see guys that are really fast that are okay base runners. Ricky Henderson was incredibly fast, and he was a smart base runner. And that's when you get that, you get a guy that stole almost 800 bases.
Okay, you just hit on something, Jay Powell. It was his craft. Like you mentioned,
Yep.
there's dudes that could fly, but didn't understand the technical piece and how smart he was. It was a craft for him. I mean, he was damn good at reading
Yep.
pitchers and situationally in baseball, right?
Yep. And it's kind of like the receiver going against that defensive back, that one-on-one deal. It's the same thing with those great base runners and a catcher. And it's just like a catcher and a great base runner. I mean, I saw Charles Johnson throw out Deion Sanders one time at about 10 feet. And, I mean, you could tell CJ was jacked up. Well, it becomes kind of one-on-one competition. So these great base runners, there's a little bit of that swagger, obviously, and you know, that confidence that they have, like, you can't throw me out just like you can't cover me. And Ricky had all that. And I mean, that's just, he was incredible with doing what he did. And I think when you wrap up his skills, his knowledge of being able to read pitchers, being able to get good jumps, being able to get good leads, making good turns. I mean, I guarantee you he stole third, probably a third of his stolen bases are probably third base.
Right.
I mean, so he just had that knack, and the skill set was unreal. But he was such a smart player.
When you're as talented as Ricky Henderson and you're that big of a threat on base, how much does that elevate the guys hitting behind him? Because the pitcher's going crazy in his mind about what to do.
It's a double-edged sword, because some of those, they love him getting on base, because, you know, they love the fact of Ricky's going to be on base a lot. And I'm starting to talk like Ricky. Ricky's going to steal bases. But, you know, Ricky's going to be on base a lot, and you're going to be able to drive a bunch of runs in. Flip side of that is some of those guys are like, hey, dude, you know, you're out there jockeying around second base, trying to steal bags. You know, let me hit some. So that's when, you know, you look at some of the guys that hit behind him in his career. I guarantee you, if you go back and look, they're going to be, you know, whether it's kind of the prototypical two-hole guy, you know, I mean, they're just a good, solid, kind of smart baseball players, because you've got to have a guy behind you also that understands what you're trying to do, because it ain't like high school baseball where, you know, even high school we've got away from it, where a lot of our guys are even on their own, but he's on his own. So the hitter don't know he's going. So, you know, he's going to have to take a pitch that he may want to hit to let him try to steal the bag. So, you know, it's a lot that goes into it with those guys hitting behind him, too.
Jay Powell, first-round pick out of Mississippi State, a decade in MLB, World Series champ with the Marlins. He joins us on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line, sharing baseball stories and Ricky Henderson stories. I guess you played against you know what's crazy? You know, we talk about, Jay, like sometimes like Phil Mickelson's not appreciated as much as he should be because Tiger was so dominant. I kind of feel that way with Tim Raines. I know one was in the AL and one was in the NL for a while, and then obviously Ricky bounced around a good bit. But I grew up loving both of them. I got to watch Raines play all the time, Jay, because of WGN and TBS, and he was playing the Braves and the Cubs with the Expos. I don't even remember the timeline. Did you ever play against Tim Raines, Jay?
Yep. Played against him. Trying to think, maybe the White Sox for a little bit. But yeah, I played against Tim Raines, and you know, it's Ricky. Obviously, look, Ricky was a more talented player and put up better numbers than Tim Raines. But Tim Raines is a borderline. You know, he's a borderline Hall of Famer.
Sure.
If he's not in, I mean, so he was a great player, but you're right, he was overshadowed because, I mean, Ricky overshadowed everybody. I mean, that personality and that persona was just bigger than life, and that's what a lot of guys loved about him, man. His teammates loved him, and the guys that played against him really, you know, he was the first one I remember really pimping home runs.
Yeah.
You know, he would hit it and he would kind of flip the bat and pop his shirt a little bit.
Yeah.
And really, you didn't hear a lot of pitchers complaining about, you know, it's just because you knew who he was. And it was, like he says, just Ricky being Ricky. I mean, he was a different bird from that persona. And when you have that, you overshadow a lot of great ones. I
Right.
mean, yeah, Tim Raines was a really good one. Kenny Lofton was another one that, was a really, really good leadoff hitter. I mean, you get some really good ones that are, but when you got the Mount Rushmore, the king up there, I mean, it's hard to get any attention.
Man, I loved Kenny Lofton in the 90s. Now, I still had to root for the Braves, but that dude with the Indians, goodness.
Yep.
I'm looking right here for our listeners. So this is what Jay's talking about. Ricky is number one all-time stolen bases at 1,406. Okay, to give you an idea, Tim Raines is fifth, which is still amazing at 808. And Kenny Lofton is 15th with 622 stolen bases. So it's just wow. All right, I wanted so you played. You mentioned Ricky Henderson pimping home runs, which I thought was awesome when he did it. And you're a pitcher, you may not have thought it, but so help me here. When I was looking at all the tributes from all the great players that he played with, and you get this because you played with some players that you were like, man, these guys came to the ballpark to win every day. My takeaway the last 48 hours of Dave Stewart and Don Mattingly and all these guys posting different things about him was that Ricky Henderson played damn near every game, Jay. And he took talk about the physical toll on his body still in second and third as much as he did and head first slides, but that this guy came to the ballpark to win and beat you every single day. And how valuable that is in the dugout, Jay.
Yep, 100%. And not only that, but I think Ricky really, really loved playing the game of baseball. And, I mean, his last year, he played for an independent team up somewhere in Newark or something just because he wanted to play, and when you really loved coming to the ballpark and playing the game, that goes a long way because it's a long season. But as far as being a competitor, I mean, he wanted to win every day, and he didn't want to come out of that lineup. He wanted to play every day, and he was going to play his way. And, it wasn't like he was a power-hitting first baseman. I mean, this dude was crashing into walls. He's diving in at second base, sliding. He was hard on his body. But you looked at him. I mean, I remember meeting him one time walking out of Shea Stadium, and I said, "This dude looks like a tailback." Like, he was probably he was 40 years old or something probably. But I'm like, I mean, he's got like no body fat and. I said he looked like a tailback. Like he's just the way he's built. He was just such an athlete.
Do I have time? Yeah, I want to switch gears with you here for just a second now that we got you. Jay Powell, first-round pick out of Mississippi State, a decade Major League Baseball, visiting with us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. All right, so we got to make a transition here because I want to talk about Jake Mangum. He's going to be on the 40-man roster. Okay, for the Tampa Bay Rays, coming out of the chute in January and February. We had him on a few weeks ago. He had an unbelievable year with the Durham Bulls and was player of the year and so on. Now, the game is I feel like everybody's about the home run and so on and so forth. As you look at, all about him, college, and what he's done in minor league baseball. Handicap it for him as far as, it looks like he's close. What do you think needs to happen here over the next few months, Jay?
Jay, of course, is a friend of mine, and I see him a lot and talk to him a lot. I've told Jake all along, and this is what is so messed up with our game, and I hate it, this part of it. But Jake Mangum helps you win baseball games. He will make you a better team. He will help you win games. He may steal a base one day. He may dive for a fly ball in center field and save you 2 runs. He's going to help you win games. There's no way these gurus with their iPads can measure that. And he's got to get with the right organization that can appreciate what he does. And there's no bigger fan and nobody pulling more for him. And I'm hoping that situation is now with the Rays. But that part, that part of the game, they can't put numbers on it, so these guys don't know what to do. And when you're dealing with, and I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but when you got folks running the game that never played little league ball or whatever, it's just what you end up with. You end up with a product that's not as good as it used to be. And it's just, I know that's a whole nother show, but Jake, that's been his big deal, is the folks, I think, really don't appreciate what Jake brings to the team. And the guys that play with him, the baseball guys that see him, his teammates, they know this dude wins games for you. Like, you'll win games because of Jake Mangum being on your team.
Absolutely.
And it's hard for them to put a number on that, and it's like, well, but, so I'm hoping he gets a shot. I don't know why he wouldn't at this point. To me, he's well-deserving. He's more than deserving. But, it reminds me, remember Jody Hurst? Jody.
God, what a player.
Yeah, was stuck in AAA with the Tigers for years, and, Sparky Anderson was going out signing Rob Deere and, all these guys, and Jody just could not get a break. And so you got to be good to make it to the big leagues, no question, but you got to have a little break. And it's like Dennis Cook told me one time, when you get there, you slam that door shut. You ain't going back.
Right.
But you got to have, somebody's got to give you that break, and I'm hoping from Jake's standpoint, it comes this year, because he's, to me, at worst case, he's a great fourth or fifth outfielder. But I think he's deserved a shot to play, man, and see what he can do.
I agree with you. Hey, Jay Powell, thank you so much for
Absolutely,
your time
man.
today. That was an absolute blast. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Maybe in a couple of weeks we can talk. I got to go, but maybe we can talk Jim Ellis and
I love to.
And his impact on you in Mississippi State baseball. Thanks, Jay.
Absolutely. Thanks, Bo.
Jay Powell on the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, and driven by Rick's Pro Truck, 3 locations, RPT Commercial, Gluckstadt, Madison County, and Flowood. RicksProTruck.com. That was great. Jay Powell faced Ricky Henderson, played against Ricky Henderson, played against great players, and could frame it up, his impact on the game. And I love that 4-minute clip on Jake Mangum. Jake Mangum will start on the 40-man roster for the Tampa Bay Rays in just a few weeks. I think he said he's going down there late January or early February, so it'll be right around the corner. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. This is ESPN 105.9 The Zone.
Say, kids, what time is it?
It's 9 a.m. and this ain't okay show. It's the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds.
On aboard!
As Mississippi's #1 morning show rolls on the Zone 105.9 and online at thezone1059.com.
Well, you got a day or two here to go to Raggio Mercantile Shop in Madison, Mississippi, and go see my buddy Josh Raggio. We are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. High quality, great gifts at Raggio Mercantile Shop in Madison. The famous duck call maker who played college baseball. Opened up Raggio Mercantile Shop in Madison by Half Shell, right down the street from Burgers Blues Barbecue in Madison. Raggio Mercantile Shop right off Main Street in Madison, open today and tomorrow. So go pick up a gift, and he's got a beautiful store, absolutely beautiful store, and we'll be doing a bourbon tasting there in 2025, and I'm excited about that. He also has cigars, which is cool. But high quality men's gifts, Raggio Mercantile Shop, right off Main Street in Madison. Josh Raggio, and let him know that I could strike him out in my prime. This is did I ever have a prime? Anyway, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app and thezone1059.com. We were going through an Out of Bounds roll call earlier, so let's pick that up again. The show just flew by 2 hours. I don't know what happened. This is weird. Some shows feel like they're 10 hours, and then some you're like, whoa, the first hour and second hour were just crazy. I can't believe we're in the third hour of the show. But you can hit us up on the Mac Hike Auto Group text line, 601-885-3776. And we'd love to know if you're streaming or listening on radio. Where are you listening from? And who would you like to win the college football playoff, or are you rooting against someone even more so than rooting for? I tell you what, Oregon and Ohio State, Notre Dame and Georgia looks delicious. So that could be, I know a lot of y'all were frustrated without the close games over the weekend. That's going to happen. It's still cool to see home games, college football games. Texas, Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Penn State. And I think we've got some pretty good matchups in the quarterfinals with Notre Dame and Georgia down in New Orleans. And can you imagine what that's going to look like? Man, Fighting Irish fans are going to take over, They're fired up, and they should be. And Marcus Freeman's got a good team, and Georgia's good, but Tom Luganbill mentioned that it's the worst running team for Georgia as far as rushing the football in 20-something years. They didn't finish in the top 20 in offensive scoring efficiency, which is a huge blow because they had been in the top 5 as they were playing for the national championship and or winning it. And they don't have a dominating defense. They're not in the top 20 in defensive scoring efficiency either. So that's, kind of odd and weird and nuts. But Notre Dame, Georgia, and Oregon, Ohio State could be a lot of fun. And who knows? Penn State, Boise State, maybe wild. Texas, Arizona State. I don't know. You kind of look at it and think, I don't know, but we'll see. The one's on the 31st and the rest are on the 1st. You got a lot of football coming up, and bowl games really kick in this week. Ole Miss, we've kind of forgotten about this. They play in the Gator Bowl against Duke. And Manny Diaz, that's a familiar name around here. He had 2 stints as a defensive coordinator in Starkville. He came in, he was Dan's second DC after, he and Torbush parted ways. I think that was mutual also. Because I just think Torbush at that age wasn't going to get MF'd by a 37-year-old all the time. And Manny comes in and had success, and then Mac Brown hired him at Texas. And then, eventually Manny needed a job, and he came back, and then he went to, I guess, Miami. But, and then it didn't go well there. And he had to, kind of what coaches have to do. He took the DC job at Penn State and his defensive scoring efficiency numbers were great. And he's done a good job at Duke. So again, you could say he failed at Miami, but you could say he learned how to be a head coach, and he's doing some good things at Duke. Now, Ole Miss is way better athletically and on paper and all that, but there will be a Gator Bowl with Ole Miss and Duke. And one thing Walker Jones mentioned to us 2 months ago when he was on the show is, hey, if you go to a bowl game, you got to figure out a way to incentivize your players to play. And you could tell that the Grove Collective was throwing dollars at player, which is fine, great. And they don't want to lose another game. You don't want to lose, momentum, whatever. And even though it's a game that you can say it doesn't matter, well, when toe meets leather, it's about the scoreboard, all these games. And they found a way to lock up all the players, but maybe 1 or 2 that are going to play. So he basically laid that out, that Florida State didn't do that last year, and it kind of, just led to this, and this. So we'll see. Jeremy says, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, guys. Streaming on the Out of Bounds app from the house. And horns down. Let's go Irish. Ooh. Jackson?
I'm always horns down.
Yeah, you don't like the Texas Longhorns.
Unless Arch takes over.
Okay. Well, Quinn Ewers played well.
He did.
Against Clemson.
Right.
And we'll see if Dabo is going to do anything with the they did land their first portal commit last week, which should tell you everything you have to. That's ridiculous. But they did land their first portal commit. We'll kind of see what they want to do. He's going to have to you don't have to do a lot if you're Clemson, but you do need to supplement and, find a way. As far as portal, Texas Tech is number 1. They raised a ton of money. We talk about how rich Texas and Texas A&M is, and Texas Tech may not be that rich, but they got plenty of energy and old money, plenty. And I mentioned the 2 dudes who played for Leach, who aren't even 45 years old, who have made hundreds of millions of dollars apiece, if not more than that. And they're in. They played for Leach. They like it. Yeah. And they want to.
You told me last week the difference, whether they have the more money than all these people or not, they have more available money to spend.
Yeah.
Because those guys are willing to put it down.
Right. All it takes is a couple. I say all it takes. Every team, every one of these universities has men that are worth several $100 million or billionaires. It's just a matter if they are willing to commit the dough. These 2 guys are. They want to be good. Texas Tech is number 1 in the portal. LSU is 2. Ole Miss is 3. Auburn is 4. And Mississippi State is 5. Hugh Freeze's only hot seat. Brian Kelly's seat is warm. So they jumped in the portal and they have been very disappointed. And they're ready to get rolling. We are the Out of Bounds Show. 105.9 The Zone ESPN. Brought to you by Aplos and the Renaissance and Aplos in Holland Village. Gyros and pizzas. Off and running. We are the Out of Bounds Show. You can follow us on Twitter at TwitterX at Bo Bounds. Yeah. Brought to you by Superior Foundation for all your foundation repairs. Superior.ms. Show is brought to you by USA Pawn and their mega store, I-55 South McDowell Road. They buy and sell gold and silver. Get in touch with them today at USA Pawn and usapawn.com. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a good weekend. We did. I was fortunate. Some people invited me on the trip to go see Mississippi State play Memphis. I had not been in the FedEx Forum in a while. I was going kind of on a regular basis there for a minute. And that place is nice. It's really nice. Mississippi State dominated a Memphis team that was hot. And kudos to them, man. Kugel from Florida was on fire. And several other guys played well. Melendez and Murph and Hub and Matthews. They've got a good team. Ole Miss has a hell of a squad, too. They get to go to Memphis this coming Saturday. So Mississippi State just played in the FedEx Forum. I think they should do it every year. And Ole Miss will go to play Penny, who fired his staff and went out and got Mike Davis and some other guy. I mean, like legit bona fide guys that just weren't working on his staff. I did not realize that. I just knew Rick Stansberry and the other two guys had been fired. And, you know, Penny's been through all kinds of different things, but he's the legend. Here, let's see what it says. He's the legend there, as y'all know. Great player. And so basically, I mean, it's almost like, I don't know what he'd have to do to get fired. But he's got Mike Davis and Nolan Smith on his staff now. What? So he's got a team, and that's a damn good win for Chris. Hey, by the way, Mississippi State dominated from the start. And I'll tell you this, Memphis didn't want to D up like they needed to stop Mississippi State. MSU had been in a little bit of a slump. No, I mean, they're still winning, but you know, just offensively. And I think Jans is brilliant. He's a defensive savant, but I always wonder if he spends enough time on offense. And Rick Pitino talked about that on a interview last March, and I referenced it to Jans this past summer. But Jans knows more than I do, and he's done a good job. And he's got a team that's actually can give Hubbard some help. Melendez, Kugel, and Harris can play out on the wing, and that way Josh doesn't have to do everything every night, which is good for Hub. I don't know how he did it last year. He had no help. I mean, Shaq Moore and the little dude Davis, whatever. I mean, those are nice players, but come on. I mean, Hub had to carry everything, and Tolu wasn't quite what he needed to be on the offensive end last year for whatever reason. He's a good kid. But it was kind of all on Josh Hubbard. And this year he's got some help, which I think is going to bode well for you. And then Ole Miss has a squad too. So they go to Memphis this weekend. That'll be a fun trip. I had a blast. I had a great time. I mean, it's better when you win, but had a great time. They sell Kona there, which
nice.
is Kona Big Wave, which was cool. Actually, you know, stadium arena food is hit and miss. And I had a burger there that was an 11:30 game, so I was starving. I had a burger there that was unbelievable. I let everybody else form that line of 90 people at Rendezvous, which I think is overrated. And I went just right across the way to this little burger place in FedEx Forum. It was delicious.
Forum rules.
It's a beautiful arena.
I love that place.
It's a beautiful arena. Not really a bad seat in the house.
There's not.
I mean, you can sit lower level, upper level. There, it's well done. And let me just tell you this: PJ Haggerty for Memphis can flat out ball. So that kid is filthy. But Mississippi State dominated. And they didn't, Memphis lived on the line in the first half. And it's a good damn thing they did. Or you thought they were down, and they were down up to 22 point, kind of between 17 and 22 points for basically 90% of the game. Had they not, the refs were all over the whistle on the Dogs in the first half. If Memphis doesn't live on the free throw line, I don't know what that score is. But I'll tell you something else that jumps out at me is I don't know how long it holds up. Mississippi State still worries me in the post as far as depth. Murphy and Cam can play, and whatever the other young man's name is, Nicoyo or whatever. He's solid. But the thing that should give Mississippi State fans hope is the fact that Cam and Murphy can pass the basketball like they can as big men. You don't see that at the college level. NBA, you do. You don't see that at the college level. So that's something to think about. This team seems like a team that's willing to share the basketball. Like Hub, even though Hub's can be, I think actually Josh needs to shoot a little bit more. But hey, if it's working, look, Memphis decided to pick him up 94 feet. Their game plan was, we're not going to let you beat us. Well, Hub had 2 great shots in the first half. But the one thing that did is that opened up everything else. If you're going to spend that much time and focus on Hubbard, Harris, Melendez, and Kugel and Cam and Murphy are going to do some damage.
Should do.
So that's fine. And now you're lucky that Josh is not a selfish player. And even though he's been great since he was in second grade, he's understanding, hey, we got to take what they give us. And if I need to be the facilitator of this game and get the ball where we need to, because they're going to put their best defender, and they they were guarding Hub when he got the ball from inbounds. I was impressed.
Well, that's the right game plan for him, right? Take him out and make him beat you. That's what they have to do. But this
this is not the same. See, you could do that last year and you could win.
And you could win.
Because Shaq Moore and Davis couldn't. Again, nice players, but they need to be a level below. Dude, Kugel, when he's in from Florida, the Florida transfer, he wore Memphis out. And I was right there on the court. He was letting them know that they couldn't guard him. So Hub was getting the ball to him, and he was just
giving it to him.
Oh.
Safe to say.
And Cam Matthews is a train going down the lane.
This is a bona fide tourney team.
Here's the deal for Jans and Beard. I'm just going to let you know this. They have the league has never been this good. If you can go 9-9, you're in.
Yeah.
With what Ole Miss and Mississippi State have done, and kudos to both teams because it's not easy. What they have done in the non-conference, you are in and actually a good seed if you go 9-9. This league is filthy.
They are deep.
Auburn is loaded, but we've got other teams that are loaded. So I'm going to enjoy January and February. It's going to be hard, though. Fans, you need to know you're going to lose a bunch of games. It doesn't mean that you're bad. This is the deepest, most talented the league has ever been. And, of course, they added 2 teams in Texas and Oklahoma.
Tourney team, man. That team belongs in the tournament.
Yeah.
They should be playing in March.
Out of Bounds, brought to you by MSSmartHomes.com. Speaking of all these games, concerts you want to watch at the house, listen to music, you want the Sonos system. Sonos surround system from Mississippi Smart Homes and Jake Manning. MSSmartHomes.com. Hit it today and call him. We are the Out of Bounds Show. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. Oh, all right. Lunch today brought to you by Aplos in the Renaissance in Highland Village. Go through the year rotation, as Jackson Meadows likes to tell us. Try all of them. Maybe not at one sitting, or maybe, whatever. But wonderful food, great atmosphere, and they can cater your next party. Aplos, Highland Village and the Renaissance. Wonderful appetizers, pizzas, gyros. Their burgers, really underrated. All at Aplos. And good morning, welcome in, Happy New Year, and Merry Christmas. We're going to get out of here for a week, and then we'll be back ready to roll. So I've been working Jackson Meadows hard. I mean, this guy's been locked in since July 10th or whatever when we were in Dallas, Texas for SEC Media Days. And we're going to take a little time. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope that you have a wonderful holiday season. Enjoy yourself and be careful. And my brother cooked shrimp and grits last night. It was ridiculous how good it was. So we had a big time, and I got to go to so I don't know if I've been to an NFL stadium and an NBA stadium all in a week time span. So I went to the Saints game last Sunday, which was a blast. And then I went to Mississippi State Memphis game in the FedEx Forum Saturday, and they're both awesome venues. The Superdome's awesome, and then FedEx Forum was cool, and I had a great time. And Jeff from Nashville, thank you for the text, my man. Merry Christmas to you. I appreciate you listening. And yeah, let's see what all happened here. Let's see. Thank you and your team for all you do. I'm rooting for Georgia, Texas, Part 3, with Texas winning it all behind the leadership of Arch Manning. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, best wishes in 2025 to all of you and all those associated with your show. We appreciate it. We had a heck of a year, but an unbelievable football season. And we did new shows from new venues, Martin's and Livingston, and all kinds of remotes around. And we're going to continue to do that in 2025. Don't forget that Briarwood Wine and Spirits has Russell's Reserve private barrel selection right now. 4949 Old Canton Road. Nate Dogg and them. It's a barrel pick that we did in July. It hit a month ago. He still has some left. And so I would check that out. Briarwood Wine and Spirits and Russell's Reserve Private Barrel Selection is there. Great Christmas gift, maybe for you or for someone you know. And please drink responsibly. All right, we're live in the Bank Plus studio, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Robert says, Merry Christmas, guys. Streaming on the app, currently in Grenada, home of the Class 6A state champs. Yeah, Michael Fair. I had a class with him at Mississippi State. He started at center on the 99, 10, and 2 team under Jackie Sherrill. Super guy. And he's won everywhere. And congratulations, Robert, that y'all won the 6A state championship in football. We recapped the college football playoffs a little bit. I love the matchup of Ohio State and Oregon out in the Rose Bowl. I like Notre Dame and Georgia down in the Sugar Bowl. We'll see on Penn State and Boise State in the Fiesta. I don't know. And then you have Texas and Arizona State, dilly with a hell of a year, but I don't know if they got the dudes that can do it. What?
But what
if they did?
Oh,
yeah, what if we get an upset in
gosh.
either the Boise State, Penn State matchup or the Texas, Arizona State matchup?
Boise they can win that ball game. I don't know if that's an upset.
Okay.
I really don't. Penn State's not good.
I wonder if Sun Devil Macy's going to go to. You just said Penn State's not good. Okay. I don't think they're they're really good by any stretch, but in college football today, I guess they're kind of who you need to be, and they play in a conference where you can slither by. Texas and Arizona State are in Atlanta. My question is, will enough Texas fans show up to have a good crowd? We have Sun Devil Macy on our text line. He's a huge Arizona State fan. Yeah, look, it's a 50-minute plane ride, Delta, or you can jump in the car and be there in 5.5 hours. And that's in the Chick-fil-A Bowl in Atlanta. So, War Eagle Rich, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, War Damn Eagle. Well, your basketball team's really good at Auburn, and really good. And your transfer portal commits look good for whatever that's worth. I'm very skeptical of all these classes, and I'm just going to keep the expectations low. I think your hit rate's going to be 30 to 40%. I think on classes that you hit 50%, which won't happen every year, you should be, running down the street with no clothes on. Mm-hmm. Texas Tech is 1, LSU's 2, Ole Miss is 3, Auburn's 4, and Mississippi State's 5. I don't see Georgia. Bama's got 5 commits. I think that's about what they'll do. 4 of them are 4 stars. Bama's got 4, 5. All right, 5 commits. I don't even see Georgia on here. Did I miss them? No, I don't see them on here. Ooh, UCLA getting in the transfer portal business. Okay. Belichick's got 10 commits. North Carolina's at number 20.
Did you see his picture, though, the little Instagram they put out of his first one that he signed?
I did not.
Big old offensive lineman.
Was it?
Oh, yeah, big offensive lineman. And he was all conference at where he was. Obviously, Belichick got him to come, but Belichick's standing over to the side while the kid's signing the paper.
Really?
It's just the two of them with a beautiful glass, a glass behind him. You can see right through all the windows and whatnot. And Belichick's just sitting there with his arms folded, looking like a godfather. It really is great.
So I'm told that the head of the board of trustees made the call.
Really?
That he basically shut Bubba Cunningham down, the AD at North Carolina.
Wow. And
Bubba Cunningham wanted to hire John Summerall from Tulane, which would have been the better hire. Right. I know I'm saying that. Belichick's the GOAT.
Right. Ways to go to the NFL.
Right. And that evidently this board of trustees, I don't know if there's a tie or he became enamored with Belichick, and he just rammed that thing through.
It's easy to become enamored with winning.
Decided to overrule Bubba Cunningham, athletic director at North Carolina, that the Summerall thing was done, and Belichick and this head of the president of the board of trustees for UNC Chapel Hill just
call.
Yeah.
That's well, I mean, from what we understand, that Cunningham guy ain't worth the,
Well, I don't know. Let's see, board of trustees.
All right, I would have loved to have heard that combo.
Oh, me too.
I imagine that was a colorful conversation.
All right, let me see.
Or maybe it wasn't.
Oh, it may have been.
Think so? Yeah, because that's a power thing at that point, anyways.
All right, so John Pryor is the chair. I don't know if it was him. I was told it was the chair. It may have been someone right under him, but he is the co-founder and president of Restoration Systems, an environmental company specializing in wetland stream nutrient habitat mitigation, headquartered in Raleigh. Company has over 80 mitigation projects in 12 states. Okay. Before found Restoration Systems in 1998. He worked in the United States Senate. Okay. He's a UNC 1990 political science grad. I wonder if there's anybody else here that could have been this. Who knows? Oh. No. Thought there'd be a little more muscle on here, but I may be missing it. Okay. Anyway, they told Bubba Cunningham who he's going to hire. How about that?
I keep hearing these. I've listened to some of these national guys lately during the football broadcast yesterday, especially, and all these guys just they keep on about how these people messed up not hiring Belichick back in the NFL.
I don't know if that's the case because Bill Belichick demands that he runs everything, and Bill did a great job. Belichick did a great job for a long time, but I just think general managers and AGMs and all the player personnel people are like, look, if we're going to work year round, and then Bill sits down after the season and says, okay, great, I'm glad y'all did all this, the thousands of man hours that y'all put in on scouting and everything else, and I couldn't scout because I was working 20 hours a day running the New England Patriots.
Right.
But here's who I'm going to pick. That could be a problem.
I'm with you. 100%.
And that's why he didn't get the Falcons job.
Man,
And I think he knew he wasn't. I just think his time is
done.
Is done in the NFL, maybe. And people are going with guys that agree that they're going to let the front office be the front office and do most of the grocery shopping, so to speak, to quote Bill Parcells. Hey, switching gears, the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN, brought to you by Raggio Mercantile Shop in Madison. Brand new store that's open. Go see Josh Raggio and Raggio Mercantile Shop in Madison today and tomorrow. Pick up a Christmas gift. It's right by Half Shell off Main Street, right down from Burgers, Blues, and Barbecue. Raggio Mercantile Shop in Highland Village. Not Highland Village, in Madison, is now open. Raggio Mercantile Shop in Madison is open. The one in Raymond, and yes, on the text line, the one in Raymond is still open. So he now has two stores. Raggio Mercantile Shop in Madison and Raggio Mercantile Shop in Raymond. Go see Josh Raggio today. Hey, tell the story of Ricky Henderson and John Olerud.
John Olerud. And
who was a first baseman for a couple teams.
I got to give credit to Nick on the text line for reminding me this even happened, which is phenomenal. So Ricky and Olerud played for the Mets same year. Okay. Ricky was traded after his year at the Mets, and in the first game, which he came back to see the Mets playing in New York, he got walked, and they put him on first, and he walked, and there was John Olerud on first.
So good.
Now, John Olerud is known for one thing and one thing only, and that is wearing a helmet at first base. And so when Ricky got to first base, he saw Olerud, he saw the helmet, and he kind of chuckled and said, I played with a guy like that in New York last year. And then I guess he turned around and went on about his business. Olerud said, Ricky, that was me. We were teammates last year.
So good.
I mean, my man Rick's just
he's just a dude.
He is.
He's like, I was busy being Ricky Henderson. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
sorry. No, it's nothing personal.
And it wasn't.
I remember you now.
There's no way it was personal.
But he played for like 14 teams.
10. It's 10 on the head.
Was it 10?
10 on the head. Well, I mean, if you include the A's multiple times, we can go 14 separate stops. He really did have 14 separate stops.
I love it.
That is absurd. It's kind of cool that the A's kept bringing him back, though.
Yeah.
Was he you said he was a Bay kid?
Yes.
Well, he is
and
a Bay
Dave
kid?
Stewart.
Really?
Yeah.
So
Dave Stewart's tribute was amazing yesterday on them meeting at 12 years old and playing ball together and then winning a World Series together.
That is awesome.
Yeah. Jose Canseco's tribute was amazing. Don Mattingly. I mean, it was a who's who of baseball, man.
Oh, yeah.
Tribute, people posting former players posting about Ricky Henderson. I mean, we've lost some greats this year. Pete Rose, Ricky Henderson, and others. And the tribute, and the accolades and the post on Pete Rose were unbelievable.
They were.
No question about it.
That they were.
But, man, people loved Ricky Henderson.
Yeah.
Loved playing with him and against him, and he brought it to the ballpark. He played with so many people because he played for the A's, the Dodgers, the Red Sox, the Padres, and Mets and others. So he bounced around pretty good. But, yeah, he and Dave Stewart knew each other since they were 12 years old.
It's incredible.
Bay Area kids.
Incredible.
And it was a crew of them back then, actually, that went on to have success, which is super cool. For me, I mean, he was my guy.
Right.
Let's see. What do we got here on the Twitters with Attorney Reb? You're listening to the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone ESPN, brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. It's good to be blue, the official healthcare provider of the Out of Bounds Show. Here's a story. While playing for the Padres, Ricky Henderson was one of the last to board the team bus. As a veteran, he had expected someone to leave him his own row, but there wasn't a full one open.
Huh.
So he said, and I quote, "No seats for Ricky," standing in the front of the bus. "Ricky don't get no seat. Ain't nobody got a seat for Ricky. Just tell one of the kids to move," Brad Osmus said. "You've got tenure." Tenure? Nah, Ricky got 15 years. I love that. There's so many great stories.
I mean,
and Jay Powell was awesome.
He was. That was very good.
In the Metrodome, Ricky Henderson hit, now I want you to think, just in the Metrodome alone,
right?
He hit 12 home runs, 44 RBIs, and had 59 stolen bases. Those were all career highs for any road park he played at. Let me say that again. 12 home runs, 44 RBIs, and 59 stolen bases just in the Metrodome. He had 81 leadoff home runs. 81. And he was a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Should have been unanimous. I can't believe that. Seriously, like those guys that didn't have him in, what was your thought process on keeping him out?
Those are guys who take themselves too seriously as Hall of Fame voters. And you see that.
Man, that's extra, though. That is extra. The fact that we didn't have a unanimous one until King Griffey Jr. as of recent is crazy.
I know. And, I mean, another great player, but Ricky Henderson should have been unanimous.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question.
100%. This guy's amazing. We don't need to debate it. We don't need to stay here long, get bogged down.
No.
Talk about,
He's in.
Right. It's like HOAs debating stuff that's dumb.
I mean, how long could that meeting have possibly taken? Should have taken 27 seconds.
Hey, thank you. Everybody gets on the call. On three. 1, 2, 3. Yes. All right, we're moving on.
Right. That it really is appalling. I just want to know the reasons. Like, give me your reasoning for keeping this guy out, or for I don't know.
They didn't have a reason.
You don't. There's no way. It's just. I mean, what are you that cynical?
I can't even explain it, but I'm glad that Buster Olney, longtime ESPN, pro baseball, MLB baseball,
I love him.
Insider, pointed it out.
Buster rules.
He does.
That dude rules.
Peter Gammons.
Does he have? He didn't have a tie to Mississippi State, does he?
Not that I know of.
Okay, for some reason I thought he did.
Not that I know of.
I'll find out.
But Roy Oswalt did not get back to me. I'm sure he's busy hunting somewhere. But we will get him on and some others. Believe it or not, we're going to cover Ricky Henderson. Even though we're taking a week off, we're going to cover Ricky Henderson when we come back.
Yeah.
We have to. I thought Tom Luganbill was fantastic on the college football playoff. And Luke Krummenhawk, the new quarterback at Mississippi State, just want to get his thoughts on that. But he walked us through the games over the weekend and then the matchups of Texas and Arizona State in the Chick-fil-A Bowl. This could be a big-time game. Oregon, Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. Penn State and Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl, in which Lugan Bill will be working. And then in the Sugar Bowl right down the road, you have Notre Dame and Georgia, which could be a hell of a football game. And Marcus, look, I was wrong. For years, I said Notre Dame would never be able to win a national championship again, that had passed them by with modern-day recruiting and the shift to the Sun Belt and so on. And then all of a sudden we get something called the portal and NIL and a 12-team playoff, and Marcus Freeman recruits like hell in the line of scrimmage and lands Riley Leonard, the transfer from Duke, who's a not really good playmaker at quarterback, and we'll see. Now, a long way to go, but I thought Lugan Bill hit on a couple of things. They can run the football, and they can stop the run, and they have a quarterback who can make plays when the play breaks down. When things get off schedule, who can make a play? Will Howard looked great against Ohio State, against Tennessee. Man, people are talking about how, Tennessee should be embarrassed. They made the college football playoff.
Embarrassed of what?
I mean, some days you don't have good days.
Yeah.
But Heupel and them made it with a freshman, a QB who's not even shaving. I mean, Nico, I think, is going to be fine. He just needs more reps and to grow up and more practice and life and everything else. But I don't think Heupel and Tennessee are going anywhere. They're committed. But to say that losing in the first round's a failure, I'm sitting there going, what? Yeah. This is crazy.
Wrong.
Ask Mark Stoops 12 years into his deal about going 1-7 in the conference. But look, Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. And Jackson, have you done all your Christmas shopping?
He started.
Okay. If you need to pick up a couple of happies, go to Raggio Mercantile Shop in Madison. I actually got that right. Raggio Mercantile Shop in Madison. How was your Kessler Prime meal?
Ooh. Whew. It's the best meal I've had since I went to Castle Prime last time. Incredible.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. We're going to get out of here for a while because of the way the thing fell in the middle of the week and enjoy ourselves, and then we'll be back. Thanks for listening to the Out of Bounds Show. We had a hell of a year in 2024, and we've got some exciting things lined up for 2025. Jump on board. We'll see you in 2025.